You know, I really wish sometimes that we could reproduce odors on our little corner, because if you could smell the sawdust right here where we are today, that's a great smell. Wood smoke and sawdust. I walked in the door here on the Turner Road and I felt right at home. We're with Ken Gadway. How are you, Ken?
Good, very good.
Well, thanks so much for inviting us here. Calvin called me up and said, wait a minute. I opened a little newspaper called the Lake Champlain Weekly, and I saw a story about a guy called the Adirondack Woodturner.
Adirondack Woodturner.
And he sounds like he might be a very interesting guy to talk to on TV. So here we are, right?
That's right. That's right.
Calvin said, where do we turn? I said, the Turner Road's right there across from Skinny Dashnaw's place. You told me you grew up there.
That's right. I grew up right on the corner up there. And,
Did you really?
Moved up here about 20 years ago. 6 years ago, I got into a little knee problem and took my hobby into a little business.
Well, you know, I read that in the article, and it's amazing how the roads we travel in life change depending on what the circumstances are. And because of your knee problem,
that's right,
the door opened.
That's right. And I'm having so much fun now. I wish I'd have done it sooner. I really wish I'd have went that route a little sooner.
What did you do for a living before?
Apple orchard. I worked in the out to Burl orchards. Been around forever, you know. Almost 20 years in the apple orchard.
One of the great staples of the North Country.
George Burl.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
Yeah.
Great people.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
A lot of fun. People, you know, we followed that for so many years. I can remember 20 years, 30 years ago on the radio, every fall, picking starts September 15th.
That's right. That's right.
Sign up now, and there people would take their vacation, people from the Air Force, go out and pick apples for
That's
a while.
right. We'd get quite a crew out there.
So
and then, like I say, the knee thing hit and
there you go.
Took me out of that job. So I kind of fell back on a little hobby I was doing with an old wood lathe. I still have the old wood lathe.
Do you really? One that you made?
That's one over there.
Oh, over here, down here on the side, huh?
That's the old one.
Oh, boy.
And from there, it's just progressed into bowls and bigger bowls and bigger bowls.
Bigger bowl. And you know what Calvin said on the way up here? You aren't going to believe this. He says, you know, you can tell people that's coming up on the Super Bowl, so maybe it's a good time of year to do a show on wooden bowl. But why bowls?
They're just to take a rough piece of log and turn it into this kind of thing here.
God, absolutely beautiful. Why are we so fascinated with bowls? I know you take your stuff to all the shows and the craft shows and places, and I love to go to all those things and look around. I've probably seen you there and didn't know who you were until today, but I'll recognize you in the future.
I do all the farmers markets too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, the local farmers
Everybody's interested in bowls. We like to look at them, we like to feel them, and hopefully, in your case, we like to buy one every now and again.
They've been around forever, that's for sure. It's one of the oldest crafts in history. I mean,
is it really?
Bowl turning, yeah. They've been around a long time.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about it. We're going to go outside and look at a log. Listen, the only thing we're not going to do is look at a tree and let you cut it down. We got a log. We're going to let you get the chainsaw cranked up.
Okay, all right.
And then we'll work our way in here and see how a bowl is made. And then we'll figure out how this guy can make something like 400 bowls a year.
Just about that many. Yeah, that's about what I do. It's 400. You have to stay ahead of yourself from year to year. But it takes about 400 or so drying a year to keep up.
And Ken is not at all unhappy because we don't have much snow. We're doing this program in January on a rainy day, if you can believe this, and 24th day, I believe, of January. Snow is forecast, but yesterday we had temperatures that approached 45 degrees. Had friends from down south sending me email and said it was 46 down here. I said, well, we almost beat you. Come on north and enjoy the heat. Okay, we're going to go outside and have a lot of fun and find out how bowls are made, Turner Road style, with Ken Gadway in Morrisonville. Well, we're outside of Ken's shop here in the Turner Road. Calvin just asked a question about how much wood that you can't use, and you said you can use just about anything to make a bowl.
Just about anything. I tend to stay away from the softer woods, the pines and the just because of the pitch factor. You know, there's so much pitch, and the hardwoods just make a really nice bowl.
And a lot of the charm is to what the grain looks like, and what is it called? The burl in the wood?
The burl, that's an unnatural growth that's on the side of a tree. It actually grows anywhere on the tree. It can grow roots or up in the trees. And I have a few of those scattered around. Most of my regular bowls comes out of just straight logwood. That's a piece of hickory there. And butternut and cherry are my two favorites.
Are they really?
That's what I use the most, yeah.
Oh, that's great. So what are you going to show us out here?
Well, basically how I started out, I'll cut the piece of log right down the center. It's just a piece of firewood you cut off the end of a log.
Yep.
Let me go.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead. Show us what you're going to do. Might as well get the whole process here. Then maybe we can finish a bowl and have some oatmeal, huh? Oh, thank God it started, huh?
Last time we saw somebody using a chainsaw on his show, Gordy, he was carving out a bear.
Oh, I remember that. Upper Lake a long time ago. Well, there we go. You got it in half.
That's the natural way to cut with the chainsaw because you're ripping the log. But
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
basically,
What a difference. Look at that inside, huh?
the bowl comes right out of there.
And I guess a piece of wood determines how big the bowl's going to be.
That's right.
Huh?
That's right. Yeah. And,
I saw in the article that you had made one huge bowl.
oh yes, that's out of a piece of that elm right over there. Actually, the finished bowl's in the shop. I'll show you
Is
when we
it?
go in.
Well, take a look at it. So that's what you do,
That's
huh?
pretty much the way it started out.
Okay.
And then I bring the piece of log over to my rounding area.
I'm coming.
These are a couple of burls.
Oh, yeah, look at them. Yep.
These are a couple of odd burls.
Oh, yes.
Ready for
Oh,
the
look
lathe.
at this one. Bowl-shaped almost.
And you take the half a log, just mark a circle onto it. Nothing fancy.
How about that, huh?
Then I just knock off the corners with the chainsaw. And from there we take it in the lathe and mount it onto the faceplate.
Well, and then that also determines how deep the bowl is, too.
That's
When-
right, the thickness of the log.
Yep.
That's
I
going
see
to be a
what you
pretty
mean.
good sized bowl. That's a good 13 and a half, 14-inch bowl.
So it's any size you want to make it, depending on
much.
how big the piece of wood is, huh?
As big a wood as you can get, that determines the bowl. Now on the natural edge burl stuff, that's a little different. Those things, they get hairy too. They actually come apart on you sometimes.
Oh, do they
Yeah,
really?
you lose
Just
them.
because of
Yeah,
the way they're
yeah.
made?
There's so many different inclusions and bark growths, and it's just a little odd stuff.
People are fascinated with wood, aren't they?
Oh yes,
Yeah, we've talked to wood carvers, and I don't think we've ever actually talked to a bowl maker before. But you'll find that even when you have them set up, people want to stop by and want to feel it, see if they can feel the grain,
Oh
and
yeah,
say,
the
"Oh,
touching's
look at
the
this."
best part. That's some
it
of the
really?
best part. Yeah, they really like to touch them, and they smell them, and usually if you can get them to that stage, you've almost got them hooked. You know.
Do you have people who come back and buy more and
Oh,
more?
yes. I have a number of collectors. I call them collectors because if you buy upwards of 15, I've got a guy that's got 15 or 18 of my bowls.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you call a fan.
Yeah, that's a fan.
Yeah. Well, let's go inside and see
All
how the
right.
bowls are made, okay?
Okay.
And we're back inside where it's nice and toasty and warm thanks to the inside of an old wood furnace that Ken set up here. Have you had that in there a long time?
It's been here since I've had the shop. It's a comfort thing, that's for sure.
You don't use any of your good bowl wood in there.
No,
do
it's
you?
pretty much scraps, and I actually buy in firewood. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mistakes are in there.
Yeah, there's mistakes.
and mistakes go in the fire.
I love this. So, okay, next step. What do we got here?
Bring the piece in after it's been rounded up. I mount a faceplate to it. From this point, I actually take it over to the lathe and put it on the lathe.
Is this the way everybody who makes bowls does it, or is this something, this is a special?
Most people. Mine is a little rougher. It's homemade. Everything's kind of homemade.
Well,
But
that's the charm of it.
There
right?
is guys out there that's doing the very same thing. The very same mounting technique. I mean, everybody does that.
I just wondered how you learned to turn bowls. I mean, you said you stumbled into it, but you didn't know how to make a bowl the first day you tried it.
No, I actually bought the lathe to make a chess set because I like to play chess. I just love playing
another
chess.
thing from the article.
I
yeah.
played a game with a big set, a real huge wooden set, and the only way you could really afford it, I mean, I could afford it, was try and make one. So
Sure.
I bought an old wood lathe, and I haven't made the chess set yet.
Oh,
I got started into a few magazines, and they had bowls and wooden pieces, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
there you are, but you learned by experience.
Pretty
right?
much on my own. I didn't have anybody to show me.
People would think that making a bowl is making a bowl is making a bowl, but everyone's a little different, right?
Yeah, everything's different. I mean, you get a few that are almost the same thing, but boy, there's so many that you never know what's going to happen, and you're never going to know what you're going to end up with. And of course, the grain's always different. It's quite a process.
So you don't. How many do you keep for yourself? Do you keep some for yourself, or you try to sell them all? You can always make a new one, you know.
Yeah, myself, I don't have too many, but every once in a while, the wife she grabs a couple that she seems to have a little different uniqueness to it, and off the craft table they go. You know.
Well, what does she think about this this bowl making thing?
She doesn't mind it until the injuries, you know.
Oh,
But,
what do you?
yeah, you get into a few problems with bark flying off and things like that. But it's pretty good hobby. I mean,
We'll try to avoid the injuries while we're here with the camera going.
All right.
What's next?
Well,
so you put that on there.
From here we go right over
This
to the
is
lathe.
is this something
It's
you
just a
made?
gear sprocket that I had threaded at one of the local machine shops.
Yeah.
To fit the spindle of the lathe.
That makes perfect sense.
Oh yes, it works.
What happens if you don't get it exactly in the middle? Big trouble?
Your bowl the piece of wood kind of goes out of shape a little
I
bit,
would
and
imagine it's
things
like
bounce
an earthquake.
around. You have to slow it down quite a bit.
Okay.
And of course, the bigger you go, the worse it gets. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
try to get it as centered as you can.
Okay. Now we're into the heavy equipment side of things. You can see from that piece of gear that Ken had threaded what goes in there. So you have to turn it right on there,
We
right?
turn it right on there. It's threaded right onto the shaft. This is a home-built lathe. It's nothing bought, and it's all kind of parts out of a junkyard that I put together and looking at other people's home-built lathes. And
You get it
this
the way
is what
you
I come
want
up with. Get it the way you want it.
it. Got a heavy chain over there.
Chain drive from belt drive with a 10-to-1 gear-reducted transmission.
Oh,
Six speeds on the pulley, so you can really change the speeds.
boy. Oh, you can. And
Yeah,
you
you
need
can-
to do that, do you?
And you
Right?
really need to do it with the bigger stuff. That some of the stuff I actually put on with chain hoists to get them
I
up
see
there.
Your chain falls up here.
Yeah,
Man, what's the biggest bowl you've ever made?
it's about 32.5 inches.
You gotta be
Piece
kidding.
of wood started out at about 450 pounds, so a little much to get on by myself, you know. But between I and the wife, she'll start the shaft onto the bowl for
that's
me.
the part she probably
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
like too
that's-
much.
That could be it too. But
Okay, so you got this all set up there. You've
All
already
set.
started to work on it, and we're gonna watch you as you do it, so we can see the whole process.
kind of go right at it and just rough it down into a round circle. Everything's pretty much homemade, tools and all.
I was just gonna say, this isn't
a tool to get into the bigger bowls than what you can buy.
that has to be that knife has to be pretty sharp, huh?
That's another science in itself, just keeping the tool sharp. Because every bowl, you sharpen the tool at least 5-6 times sometimes.
Oh, do you really?
Oh yes.
Some woods are a lot harder than others too, so
Yeah, butternut tends to be one of the softer hardwoods, but it's a real joy to work. It's got a good look when it's done. And basically, we just keep going at that stage till you get all the flat spots out. And you can see the bowl taking shape there.
oh yes.
And then I'll just
Whatever natural imperfections there are in the wood, That's what adds the charm.
Sometimes I'll leave the bark in and it kind of gives a good look. Sometimes you just go straight right down to the grain of the wood itself and just have a brown butternut bowl. But yeah, sometimes the more unique the piece, the better off it sells.
Does anybody ever come in and say, hey, I'd like a certain kind of bowl or a certain size bowl? Or
I have a lot of people that have in the past actually ordered sets. I don't keep sets on hand. Bowl sets, big salad bowl with 5 or 6 or 8 servers. Yeah. And actually I've had a lady in the Plattsburgh that a couple years ago, she ordered 2. One was a 13-piece set and one was a 12-piece set.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a really large bowl, real large serving bowl and 13 small ones. Yeah, that was quite a commission.
Oh, this is really, really neat. I love to watch this, the whole process, and to see how it happens. It has always got this indentation in the bottom.
I'll cut that indentation in the bottom because then I'll turn the bowl around. I'll mount this on my lathe, turn the bowl backwards. I'll show you in a second. And this is called a dovetail. And you cut an internal dovetail, and this goes right into the back of the bowl to hold it so you can hollow out the inside.
Oh, pretty clever.
It is. It works really well. And then once the bowl is at that stage, I got another tool that I actually go in with.
Oh, that looks like a lethal bayonet. Look at this thing. Isn't this amazing?
This is an amazing tool. This thing really saves you money.
That's
not saves wood. I mean, I don't waste wood.
What'd you say?
I think this is the time we have to say, do not attempt this at home.
Yeah, do not attempt this in the privacy of your own home. Holy mackerel! Yeah, that baby looks like it means business.
What this does, you actually go in from the back side of the bowl while it's still in the lathe, and I'm going to turn it on.
Okay.
You might not want to stand too close, but
oh, okay.
But and then you kind of
have to convince me.
You kind of cut a groove right down through the bowl. It is a kind of a violent tool. And you keep cutting until you get down into the bottom.
All right, let's get back here with Calvin and maybe have him take a look inside the bowl and see what you've accomplished over there, because you were bearing down on that baby pretty good, Ken.
It really shakes you sometimes, and some of the burl pieces, some of the really hardwood, it really gets violent. Yeah, it's quite a tool. But here's the point where you start saving money, because now what you do is you get the rest out of the way. I'll take my crowbar and actually pop this bowl right off.
Oh, I see.
And there's the first one.
Isn't that amazing?
And then out of this portion, I'll cut another bowl.
That's not too high-tech. Just get in there and pry that baby off.
Pretty much it.
How do you know when you're close enough so you don't end up splitting it?
It's kind of an experience thing, you just get it down to where sometimes it's to a point where you can't reach anymore. Other times it's just taking it down to where you think it's good and give it a couple tries. If it doesn't go, well, go a little more.
I would imagine you develop kind of a sixth sense about it, but you've probably ruined a couple of bowls along the way.
Oh, boy, I guess so. More than a couple, yeah. It's quite a number.
Now, did you say you go out and cut all the wood for this, or do you have people do it for you?
I actually buy from loggers, sawmills. Kind of a rescue thing almost, I get wood from people that are taking trees down in their yard. They'll take a tree down and wonder what to do with it. They don't want to cut it up for firewood, especially a nice tree. And, of course, the ice storm generated a pile of wood.
That's a thought, too,
That really generated a pile of wood. One of my nicest trees. I mean, I picked up a big black walnut tree out in Cumberland Head. Black walnut's not too common for this area. It has to be a grown thing. And, boy, it turned out to be quite a grab. Yeah.
It's amazing how everybody's got a different perspective on the ice storm, and this is a completely new one.
Oh, yes. I salvaged a lot of wood. Boy, I picked up a lot of pieces from that thing.
So now what's left over here, is that the scrap that you might burn in your...
No, that's going to be another bowl. That's actually going to be another bowl. Kidding. Yeah. You get more than one bowl out of a block of wood. And depending on the size of the block, of course, you might end up with 3 or 4 even.
No kidding.
And when you get into the more costly woods like black walnut or something like that, it starts saving money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and what's the next step now that you've taken this off of here?
We're going to take the faceplate off.
Okay.
Normally I'd cut this out into the shape of the next bowl.
I see.
I'll take this and get it out of the way.
I dare say this is a process that our viewers have never seen before from the inside or the outside. You go just like we do to the shows, see the bowls, and have no idea how they're made. I didn't have a clue.
And we probably know now why so many of these Adirondack, these wood turners have fingers missing. That looks like it could be hazardous to your hands.
It can be.
I would imagine things let go when they're not supposed to every now and again.
You really have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And we'll put the chuck on.
I gotcha.
And then we remount the bowl this way.
I got you. Want to get back here, Cal?
It goes right on that dovetail. The dovetail expands into the hole. Tighten it up. And now we're ready to turn the inside of the bowl.
Now that's got to be on there sturdy enough so it doesn't come loose.
You have to have a pretty good
again,
dovetail.
you don't want to split the wood.
Again, you don't want it to split off. You don't want it to break off. You do have to take your time inside, especially with the bigger pieces.
Oh, boy.
And then you fire it up.
See how even it turns. It's amazing. You must have hit the middle of that one.
Oh, yes. And then it's just a matter of truing up the ends. You have to leave these wet bowls about an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick, because it takes so darn long to dry. You have to put it away like drying board lumber. Makes shavings pretty fast with this thing. Pretty much you have it.
That's such a fascinating process, and there's a large amount of individual workmanship, and so like you said, every artisan does things just a little bit differently.
Oh, yes.
So Ken Gadway's bowls are bound to be a little bit different from the other guy's bowls. Now, you know, as I said before, we've been to quite a few of these shows, so we know there are more people doing this. But everybody likes to think that his bowls are just a little bit better than the next guy's, right?
There's about 3 or 4 or 5 of us in the area that only a couple that I know that actually sell at the craft shows. But as far as size-wise, I probably do about the biggest in the area.
Do you really?
Yeah, as far as bowls.
What? Now, before I forget it, you mentioned something while you were cutting this about drying. And I would imagine that's a very important thing.
You have to leave it pretty thick. You leave the bowl about a half an inch thicker than what you want to get finished after. And then you take and paste wax once you get it cut down, I put paste wax on the outside of the end grain, just to where the end of the log was.
Oh, I see.
And then it's a matter of putting it away in the drying area and leaving it for butternut takes between 8 months and a year.
Now, do you put a mark on it so you know when you did
I
this?
date them and I label them and put them away. Yep.
And then everything is a process, and it goes in a cycle
You
then.
have to kind of stay ahead of yourself. You know, you have to keep bowls ahead so you can do the finish work towards summer. But 8 months from now, this will be ready to put back on the lathe.
So you take this is about as much as you're going to do before it dries out. Then.
That's right. This is pretty much it right here. You take it off.
And I'm sure many of our viewers thought the whole process happened in one day, but it just doesn't work that. You couldn't do it that way.
Some of the smaller stuff you can get away with, like my potpourri pots or some of the small keyring stuff, or little individual minor size things. The big bowls, you gotta let them wait. You gotta be patient.
Now, did you do a lot of reading, or did you just travel around and look at some of the other guys in the beginning?
I've done quite a bit of reading. There's a few magazines out there that you can pick up, and of course, guys are doing different things all over the place. And just there's different finishes, there's different ways of drying them, and I find you just put them away just like you do lumber. Just stack them up in a waterproof area. You know, you don't get them wet. But there's not much light. There's really not a lot of air circulation. They kind of hang out for 8 months.
Calvin and I have talked often about small entrepreneurs, small people who just decide to start a business. You did it because it seemed like a good idea at the time, and it becomes kind of a passion for you, doesn't it?
Oh, now it's just, bowls. I make a lot of stuff, but bowls are my favorites. I mean, I make all kinds of little stuff. But the bowls they have a way with themselves.
Gets in your bloodstream.
You just like it. It's just good stuff.
And it's also nice when you can make a couple of bucks, enough to buy that next batch of wood anyway.
That helps too. Yeah, that seems to help.
Keeps the wife happy too when you.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Well, that's another whole other part of the thing. How does one go about marketing these things? You've told us you go to the craft fairs. And I read in the article that you'd like to get it in a storefront sometime.
Well, I'd actually like to have my own little gift shop out here. I don't do a lot with other gift shops. I do have one in Westport, but it's just the retail dollar, of course, is way better than the wholesale money. So, and it takes so darn long to make them. You know, you put so much effort into them, and you hate to have that markup thing going on.
Well, you know, and at a certain point in time, as I said before, Calvin and I have discussed this often, you just don't need a staff of thousands because it changed the whole aspect of the fact that you're the Adirondack wood turner.
That's right.
And if you had your own little shingle out by the road, your own little shop here that people could come in,
that's right.
There's something charming about the name Adirondack, and there's something extra special charming about Adirondack bowls.
Oh yes.
So maybe, just maybe, you might have to spend a couple of bucks to get an ad in one of the well-read magazines or newspapers nationwide. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in time, if your wife was good at bookwork and packing stuff, you might even do a mail order book.
Oh, we actually have a few people that, of course, the farmers markets in Elizabethtown and Keene, you get people from all over the country. You know, they come up for vacations. So it's not surprising to look out in the parking lot and see cars from Maine and Texas and, I mean, everywhere. And I've got bowls. I actually have bowls in London. I have bowls in Italy. Across the country, of course, California, Oregon, just about everywhere. I mean, people pick them up and take them home with them, or they want to ship it here or ship it there. Or I've actually got a pretty good following down there. People are coming in looking for wedding gifts. You know, they pick up that extra special wedding gift, and they track me down at the farmer's market, and they know I'm going to be there, and I do it religiously every year, so that's where they find me.
Well, I'm a big fan of homebrewed charm, and you know, I would hate it if you ever got somebody in here and built this fancy place and got all these fancy machine tools, because this is what it's all about.
Yeah, this is about as basic as it gets.
This is Ken Gadway right here, and everything in this shop, outside this shop, has got your personal mark on it.
Well, you know, I put my name on every bowl.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yes. I sign the bowl after it's completed.
How do you sign it?
With a wood burner. I actually burn it right into the bottom. And you hate to put your name on something that you haven't actually done. At least I hate to do that. So if it says the Adirondack Wood Turner, I made it pretty much.
Nobody else uses that name?
Nobody else uses that name, no.
Isn't that amazing how you got to that one first?
Yeah, I nailed that one down pretty good. That was a lucky grab, I guess.
And since you started this, how many bowls do you think? Have you kept track of them?
I'm well over the 2,000 range, I would say.
Really?
Yeah,
2,000?
It must be well over the 2,000.
Our viewers are seeing this process. We're seeing how you grunt and groan and hold on to
yeah.
that thing and muscle up to it and bear down on it. You got the muscles of a blacksmith because you do this every day.
Every day, yeah. I come out and I make it this time of year, in the winter like this, is when I rough out. And I probably rough out, 8 or 9 every day.
Do you really?
Yeah. And of course, that's counting the small ones inside, the inside pieces. And unless I stray off into the burl stuff, and that
Takes
a little more time in that.
How many days in the year do you wake up in the morning and say, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to go out in that shop today"?
Really, this time of year, I don't have too much of a problem like that. But during the summer, when you're cranking out 25 or 30 or 40 of the little potpourri pots, and they're almost identical to each other, they don't vary too much. So that kind of gets a little, you wish you could jump into some big bowl stuff and do that instead. But most of the time, everything's so different. Everything, if you don't want to make this today, you can make something else.
You haven't made any contact with any of the big stores nationwide, or the big, I think of all these catalogs that people offer things in. You haven't made any connection with any of the big guys yet,
it's just such a time problem. I don't want to get into where I would have to hire help to put pieces out. And right now, I can pretty much sell what I make.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, it pretty much.
I'm trying to help him out a little bit, and he's got no problem at all.
Sell what I make. So
and you just decided you don't need to get a heck of a lot bigger.
No, I don't need to. I'm going to get a little different shop, a little bigger shop, but just so I get a little more room for my equipment.
You told us when we came in, if this were a year down the road, this wouldn't look the same.
That's right.
Hopefully, we're capturing a little piece of Adirondack history here.
Same lathe, though. I'm not going to part from that lathe because it really works well.
You've got it the way you want it. I imagine that's not exactly.
Finely or tuned every day, Yeah.
You got to tweak it. Did you make this device too?
Everything that goes with it, except this piece here came off about a 85 or 90-year-old lathe. This top rest
really?
portion is the.
It's an antique.
It is an antique. Yeah.
Is there a name for this thing?
It's just a freestanding rest. That's where you set your tool on to cut the bowls out.
Yeah, there's not too much resting when you use it, but at least it keeps your arm steady.
That's right. That's right. Well, you need something to lay the tool on for the support.
It has to be heavy, but it has to be light enough so you can muscle it around.
Yep.
You have to move it around. Now, do you make other? You told me you've made other things besides bowls.
Oh yes. I have a array of stuff.
We're going to take a look at everything here. It's impossible to keep up with the sawdust. There's no way to recycle that. Do you try to burn that or not?
It's a constant battle. No, I kind of use it for fill around, and I have some people pick some up, take it home for bedding and stuff like that. But
vacuum here?
That's my air cleaner. Yeah, that's what I. It tries to stay ahead, but it struggles. Yeah, it struggles.
This is a very interesting. Boy, Rube Goldberg, I wish you were still alive because this is really beautiful. I couldn't have done a better job myself. It's having this filter up here might be a little redundant. We're not exactly sure that
it takes some of the dust off. You'd be surprised. It gets pretty dusty in here when you get into the finish work.
I can't even imagine what your lungs look like after all of these years.
Well, I use a respirator religiously,
do you?
Especially in the finish work.
Boy, what the heck is this? This is amazing.
This is actually
Calvin, get over behind me and take a look inside that thing. That's kind of incredible.
That's actually a maple burl. That's one of the gnarly looking pieces that you can throw on and pull off a real odd pieces. Those pieces, they do well at the markets.
Yeah, it's not going to hold water, but it sure looks nice, right?
It's not going to hold water, but it really looks well.
Oh, isn't that amazing? And when I said everyone is different.
Oh yes, that stuff is really.
You got that right down smooth.
That's just about done. It's actually ready for its first coat of oil on the piece.
Really?
I use a walnut oil finish. It's just you can eat it. It's food safe.
Oh, thank God, because you're probably eating a little bit of it here, whether you like it or not.
Well, it's good stuff, and it's just
really brings Calvin, get over and take a look at what that looks like now that he rubs it on.
This actually really brings out the green.
Isn't that fantastic?
These are the more unique pieces in the Adirondacks. They really have that Adirondacky charm,
Yeah. Look at this. Oh my!
Three or four coats of oil later, you can take that off and
What is the sanding process? What do you do it hand sanding? Or?
I do a hand sanding, and I also do a sanding on a drill.
Okay, I got you.
With about 6 different grits. You start out as rough as you can get, 80 grit, and I work my way up to 400.
Well, as you explain this process, I can't imagine how you're turning out so many bowls. You must get in here and work like a maniac.
It goes pretty good. These corner pieces, of course, they take a number of minutes because, I mean, they
like the sculptor in marble. You know, the famous line is, there's a statue right inside that piece of marble.
That's right.
And I imagine in your head, you can
log.
see a bowl in the log, and that's where the passion comes from, because you can't wait till it's done, can you?
That's the way it works. It's I'd like to compare it to a potter, but the thing with the potters is, if they make a mistake, they can put it back. And wood turners, once you make the mistake, it's gone. I mean, it's like the carver in stone. Once you do the mistake, it's out of there.
You shorten a 2x4 by 2 inches, and you got to get a new 2x4.
You got to get your piece right the first time, because you can't put it back on and do it again. You know.
But I'm glad you explained this from your own point of view, because I'm sure people don't think about why people get into a business like making bowls. And we're getting down to the nitty gritty here, because it's the finished product. And when you get done, it's like a surgeon with a successful operation. If you break it, the patient dies. You don't want too many of those things.
You know,
But you're happy when it turns out. I mean, take a look at this.
And they're all, it's one of a kind stuff. You can't duplicate it. You know, it's unduplicable. It just it's the natural look of the wood itself that makes it so interesting.
But to have an idea that it's going to turn out something like this before you even start on it, that's amazing.
It doesn't look like that when you start out, that's for sure.
My goodness, no.
Yeah.
So what would somebody use that for? Just as a
nut
decoration?
dish, candy dish,
nuts?
dried arrangement, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
Sitting on a dining room table. Some people just set them there because they don't want to cover up the inside. They just want to look at the piece for what it is.
That's exactly the way I would be.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of stuff in this shop that we haven't even looked at. I know you're going to show us around, right?
Oh, yes.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, Calvin said, can we take a look at the end of these cutters? Because you told me you have to sharpen this several times.
High-speed steel.
And, baby, that would do a number on it.
That's sharp.
We could take the warts off your fingers with that thing with no problem at all, and your fingers if we wanted to.
The tool portion itself is actually from England. It's called Robert Sorby. They manufacture some of the best turning tools in the world. I mean, they just put out good stuff. And the handle, that's my own design. Of course, you need a little more leverage. So you make
Roger
it quite a bit
Maris
longer.
would be proud, wouldn't he? Look at this. It's about a 44, isn't it, Calvin? That's amazing.
And yeah, they're a really good tool. They do the job.
Well, wood carving, this kind of lathe tool has not changed very much in its basic design since almost the beginning.
Not really. They've pretty much stayed the same. They've done a little design difference with flutes and of course tool material.
Yeah.
Like I say, this is high-speed steel, so it really holds an edge a long time. But they're all basically the same.
There's
Of course,
a larger
the bigger
one.
bowl you go, the bigger tool you need.
Oh, baby, look at this.
So you just gotta.
But you don't use too many different sizes for yourself, do you?
No, pretty much. I've got 3 main tools that I use. 3 gouges wise. It's the same thing. They all do the same purpose. They just take out a little bigger shaving.
Have you ever broken one?
No, I've never. I have actually heard of a guy that broke one and stuck it in his wrist, or through his hand, I guess.
I think that's maybe more information than we needed. Holy mackerel.
But
We try to avoid that
we
kind
try
of
to
thing.
avoid that here. Yeah, we don't get into the breaking the equipment too much.
You can see how if it got caught, it could snap.
Oh, it could really be a dangerous thing.
That's why when you said you have to be alert, I mean, you're having fun. You might even be whistling and singing a song.
I have the
here.
radio going. Sometimes I have the TV going. But if you're on some of the pieces, like the natural edge stuff, you've got to pay attention. You really pay attention.
This is true of almost anything you do, but when you're working around power tools, and that's a good lesson for the younger people who are watching here today, because I can remember as a youngster, we had a little tiny wood lathe my dad had in a shop, and we had a set of tools not dissimilar to this, and we used to play making things, and I had a lot of fun at it, never dreaming I'd ever meet somebody like Ken Gadway who really made good stuff.
Yeah, it's quite a pastime.
Calvin's heard the story, but I turned out a billy club out of Cherrywood one time when I was maybe about 17, maybe about 14 years old, and when I went off to college in Western New York, and I had a 34 Ford four-door, I made this beautiful billy club, and boy, it smelled good, it looked good, it was shiny, and I had a leather thong on it, and I filled it. I melted some lead and filled the center of it with lead and put a plug in it.
Yeah.
And people don't need to hear the whole story, except the trooper stopped me for speeding on the thruway way back in the 50s, and they found that billy club hanging under my suit of clothes, and from then on,
Out went the billy club, huh?
yeah, they got the billy club, and I can just picture some guy right now telling his grandchildren how he got that, confiscated that billy club from a college kid on the thruway in 1955. But that was my whole experience with wood turning, and yours has been a lot different than that. This is truly amazing. All right, let's move along.
All right.
Boy, there's so much to see and talk about here. I'm not sure we can get through everything you got here. What are we looking at?
This is the natural edge pieces that you saw on the lathe over there.
Oh
that I
my
put the oil to.
goodness!
They're in the drying stage themselves
Take
right
a
now.
look
Yeah.
at the design
And
here.
it's the same thing here. I mean, this bowl actually come out of the center of this bowl.
Oh my
And these three actually come out of the center of that one there. So you're trying to save wood everywhere you can.
You see, that's a learning process for me, because I never thought that successive sizes would be made out of the same piece.
And these pieces, if you turn them thin enough, if you actually get the thinness down to around a quarter or under thereabouts, you can actually speed up the drying time on this stuff by sticking it in the microwave.
Ha! Come on.
You actually put the piece right
Another
green.
use for the
You actually put the piece green right into the
I wonder
microwave.
if that's in the Magic Chef manual. Yeah,
And,
stick your bowl.
You know, the initial phase, you put it in for 2 or 3 minutes, let the 2 or 3 minutes run, take it out, and you let it cool. From there on, it's like a 1 minute period all day. You know, I'll rotate, I'll do like what you see here, I'll do this in a couple days, and I'll rotate them in and out of the microwave all day the next day. You know, just keep a minute in and you let them dry for a few minutes, minute in, let them dry for. You do that.
Well, if the big technology companies hear you talking about that, next year they're going to come out with some big giant microwave that you can put your 34-inch bowls in and dry them out.
That's a process that some of the English wood turners started using, and some of the big named American turners. And boy, it works. I mean, you can get a piece off very quickly. I mean, these were only done about a week ago, and I mean, they're ready to finish now.
Are they really?
You could finish them right up. That's basically that one that was on the lathe. This is the center of that one.
No kidding.
It came right out of the center.
Oh, that's neat. So what other? Oh, yeah.
So
We
got
looked
the
at.
finished stuff.
Oh, my. This is truly amazing. Just talk about it, whatever comes to your mind.
This is kind of just a new type of thing. It's just a small piece of burl. Like I say, I hate to waste too much wood, so you use just about everything you get your hands on.
Isn't that
I'll have loggers drop
absolute?
me off just little bumps
I've never seen anything. I see what you mean. Look
like
at
that.
this.
You know, just a little bump like that, and I'll turn it down. And
This is
this
I
my
don't
version
think-
of a Saturn bowl, but
Yeah, think about
it's
it.
just a good use. You know,
Think about it. I don't believe I've ever seen anything like this
probably
before.
not. Probably not.
I imagine a couple of your
Other
ideas are unique. Just take a look at
Of
this.
course, this other stuff, that's pretty much what we were working on over there at the lathe. It's a big butternut bowl.
But just look at this. Look at the rings and the patterns
If
and
you
the
look at it, if you look at the
looks
the
like a
inside,
spider web.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
A
It's just like
spider web
spider
where you get the right
Got a
angle
real
on it.
look. Yeah,
Isn't that unique?
and this is more natural edge stuff.
I hope our viewers don't mind if I get a little bit enthusiastic about things like this, but I love things that are homemade, and because you can understand why people are fascinated by wood. Wood has been around since the beginning of time,
That's right.
and man has learned how to control and make things out of wood forever and ever and ever. And there's some pretty ancient dishes.
Oh yes.
The things
Oh,
that,
yes.
from the
Yes,
time the Native Americans
there's
were,
some old
were
stuff. That's
We're
right.
cutting out canoes, and this is kind of interesting all by itself. First of all, because of the grain,
Another butternut piece.
but the way it's made.
Yeah, and you know you're kind of free to go any way you want. It's like the potter's wheel. You know, you can almost go any way you want, and design whatever type design on the outsides or insides, or pretty much you're unlimited. You know, as much as your imagination can.
Some are thicker than others.
That's a piece of cherry. That's a
That's-
cherry bowl.
Absolutely beautiful.
One of the
bowl.
staples, yeah. Cherry and butternut. That's my staple, boy. The
Is
people
that
really
a fairly
like.
common size, that one? Because that's pretty
That's
big.
that's my common size. I mean,
Is it?
it's for me. I mean, I do a lot of the 14, 15-inch bowls. The uncommon size, of course, is
Oh boy, you want to get your wife in here to help you lift it?
this
Look
guy.
at this.
And that's a piece of elm. That's out of that big trunk out there.
Isn't that amazing?
That's the second biggest bowl I've ever made. This one's actually about 31 or so.
You don't have this one sold yet?
No, this is kind of just the
Boy, the phone's
the eye catcher. This is
phone's
kind of
gonna
just
ring.
the eye catcher at the. It's up for sale. It's just people
I imagine,
really gets
I
people's
imagine
attention.
anything you got is for sale in this place. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it really gets people's
Did
attention.
that take a little longer than a?
Yeah, that's. I got a few days involved in this. It's.
Yeah.
This is one of those 400-pound pieces of wood to start out with. You know, that's the chain fall piece right there.
I imagine it is.
Yeah.
You might have to get you and your wife and the neighbors to help put that one on. 400 pounds it started with?
It's a big one, yeah. It's
We're not
big
here to
chunk of
advertise, but what would the price be on something like that?
wood. I'm actually asking $1,000 for this one. It's up in the 1,000 range.
Well,
900 to 1,000.
they're kind of unique, like you said.
I mean, like you say, you know,
There aren't very
it's
many
one of a
people
kind
making them
pieces.
that kind.
It's one of a kind
And there
pieces.
certainly will not be another bowl that looks like that, no matter what, or any of these bowls.
I try to keep my prices reasonable on most stuff, you know, like the more common bowls, but the bigger stuff and the more natural edge stuff, it's just so unique, you know. It's hard to find it anywhere else if you can find it. You know.
There are several shops in this area which feature homemade things,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you've ever tried to make any contact with those shops.
Mhm.
I go in those shops and look around.
I've actually had a few of those shops contact me, but
Yeah.
like I say, you know,
You just decided you'd like to eliminate
I
that.
just decide I don't like to be the middleman kind of
Yeah.
deal, you know.
I know what you mean.
I do have stuff in a shop in Westport, like I say, but
I can see the traffic picking up on the Turner Road over the next little while. We're, besides being fascinated by wood, we're fascinated by history. And here we have a kerosene lamp that you've put into a rather unique bowl.
pretty much that makes the base of the lamp.
Stuck in there pretty good. Don't bust it.
Yeah, it's stuck in pretty good.
But isn't that interesting? And that was a burl?
That's a burl.
Yeah.
That was the wife's Christmas present, by the way.
Oh, really?
That one isn't for sale.
Well, you better not break that baby
That
or
one
you're
isn't
going to
for
be in
sale.
big
That's
trouble.
right.
Look at this.
That's a natural edge again.
People,
Hollow turning.
people are into candles. I've never seen so many candles.
Oh yes.
You know, not just for light, but people burn candles all the time because they think it's peaceful and calming. And look at this for a unique candle holder. I don't know if
Kind of one of those odd pieces of wood that you just look at a while and
I
finally see something.
I don't think I'd ever touch this candle off. I think that the baby would sit there and never get lit. It's just absolutely incredible. And what it is what it is. There wasn't much you
That's
could
right,
do
that's
except
right.
make something like that out of it.
That's
Is that
right.
one piece?
That's
That's all,
one piece.
yeah.
That's one
Tell us
piece of
how
wood.
you, did the inside.
It's a little different form of turning. You use a little different tool. It's more of a scraper tool than a gouge because you can't get into it. So you have to actually kind of scrape the wood out as you go, and a little at a time. It doesn't go very fast. That's the stuff that, you know, it take you a day to do that piece almost.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
I don't do a lot of that because, of course, it's not real cost effective. You know. I like bowls better anyway. So.
As you get more popular, people are going to pay whatever you want for this stuff. Show us some of the other smaller
we got all
stuff
kinds
here.
of little stuff like basting brushes and
Oh,
corkscrews. This
gotta
is kind of
take
a
a
more
look.
natural corkscrew.
This is extremely light. Heft that, Calvin.
That's a
Way
piece of old
lighter
burl.
than you'd think it would be.
That basically
Use that
come
for a
out of
shaving
like the
brush.
stuff that you see on the shelf there. That's
Oh, I
pretty
see.
much my handle stock.
Okay. Oh, look at this.
That's some more natural
Interesting
Just a
handle for a corkscrew.
corkscrew.
You could get into that, huh?
Wine bottle
Makes-
stopper. And
Makes me thirsty. Just a wine bottle stopper?
It's a wine
I
bottle
thought that
stopper.
was a plumb bob or something.
No, it's a wine bottle. More modern style wine bottle stopper.
Oh, yeah, I can see the
You want
little
to recork
plastic.
your wine, you can stick that right into it.
Now, do you have to glue that in, or how do you? What do you do?
That's epoxied in. It's
Epoxy.
screwed. Actually, there's a little screw that it kind of screws onto the wood.
And epoxy too.
But that more than likely was a odd piece of the bowl that I had cut off, like when I round up the corners, and that's a piece.
Look at that.
You don't waste anything. You keep every little bit.
Automatic design.
You
Right
just
in it.
incorporate it. You just incorporate it
You
right
can
into
look,
the piece.
Look at that and see I can see a bulldog, and you can make. but then I have a very, very vivid imagination. Look at this.
Spalted
also-
maple pen holder.
Do you make a lot of those?
A
or-
lot, quite a bit. Yeah, quite a few things.
So it's not just bowls.
Not just bowls.
Okay, this is beautiful. What is this?
That's a potpourri pot. That's where I said that you get into the 50, 60 potpourri pots a year.
See, I didn't know what you were talking about.
That's actually kiln-dried wood. You can use kiln-dried wood for that. So that is something you can turn instantly. And there's no drying process or none of that.
Wow,
that's a piece of black walnut. That's actually a piece of black walnut from the ice storm. That's that tree. Yeah, that's actually that tree.
My.
And then...
what's this? Keychains?
Keychains.
Who
all kinds of keychains.
You could turn keychains.
All kinds of little keychains, and I do letter openers. I don't have any of those with me, but I do letter openers and pretty much anything round. And actually, these have even come back into style.
Lazy Susans.
Lazy Susans. I started a couple of years ago. I had a lady down toward Keene or someplace ask me if I made Lazy Susans. At that time, I didn't. But I could, you know. And they've been a going thing since. I mean, I guess people are bringing them back, you know.
I think they are,
They just have a good look. And
boy, that's beautiful. Gee, I'm proud to wear some of your... we met a guy, where did we go? I don't know what fair it was. A guy was, he was showing us, a little guy from Malone. I can't remember his name, with a beautiful big beard.
At the Essex County Fair.
At the Essex County Fair, and he, carves the bears and the things. And... man, he came up, and of course I was covered with sawdust, and he had sawdust in every orifice, in his ears, in his hair, and he looked like a real mountain man.
Oh, yes.
It's great to see that. Now here's one that has one
odd piece.
A little bit different, huh?
A little more out of balance on the lathe, but sometimes you can pull them off, sometimes you can't. You know.
But it certainly is unique. Look at the outside design on it again.
And the spalted wood, of course, this is actually a tree that falls in the woods. It's not any real value for lumber because it started to decay. That's what creates the black lines and the different look in here. The funguses start attacking the trees, and the log creates the black lines.
Sometimes you don't see it till you start rubbing it.
If you can catch it early enough, you can get a workable piece out of it.
Oh, golly. Absolutely amazing. What else didn't we see here?
Oh.
These are
ready to go on the lathe to finish turn if I want to do it.
I see. There's another one with a side out of it, similar to the one that you just made.
And this, of course, is all handle stock. You got to stay ahead of yourself. So I slice up pieces, waste pieces off the other pieces that I use for bowls. Just slice up stuff into handle stuff for all the letter openers and toothpick holders. And
have you ever tried to make wooden stands?
No, I never got into too much in the furniture. I have done what you're looking at down here. I mean, the only real kind of architectural stuff is this thing down here that everything is setting on. It's kind of cluttered mess. It's actually a pole lathe. I can turn porch poles up to 13 foot long.
Oh.
I did a few. A guy got me started up in Wilmington. He was building a summer home, and he ordered these 10. He supplied the wood, asked me if I could do it, so I put that lathe together and turned
porch poles. Who would
10
ever
or 12.
Think there'd be a market for that?
10 or 12 porch poles for his house, for his summer home. Of course, his summer home runs up and around the $2 million mark, but it's quite a home. It was quite a home.
Baseball bats?
Pardon? No, I haven't done any baseball bats. I haven't really. We don't have too many boys in the family, so kind of the bowls kind of just took over. I don't even like to do the porch bowls and the column work. It's just.
Look at this interesting piece on the floor. It looks like almost like a piece of fungus, doesn't it? Wow, that's amazing. Are you going to do something with it?
Yeah, I've started. See, I've actually cut some pieces out of it, and I'm kind of working off it. It just didn't quite hit me to what to do with it, so I didn't really want to. You don't throw anything away, you just chuck it away and let it dry, and eventually you get to it.
What, do you have ideas that come to you in the middle of the night? Do you have to think long and hard about some of your projects?
The wife actually says that she's heard me talking in my sleep at night about the bowls. But,
oh, that hurt!
But after a few of them, maybe that's, that might be a part of the deal.
Well, it's not something you certainly can do in your sleep, but I'm sure the bowls you're making now is a lot easier than it was the first 4 or 5 you made.
Oh, yes. They come much easier now. I know the mistakes not to do, and it works pretty well.
Things that would be obvious to somebody like you were not obvious to me until I got here. The depth of the bowl is directly dependent on how big a piece of wood is.
That was pretty much half a log. I mean, that's half the log.
That's
So
pretty
that was a
deep,
pretty good sized
you know?
piece of cherry, yeah. And wood like that is getting harder to come by. Big trees, you know, they're going by the wayside so fast that if a logger lands a big cherry, sometimes you don't get it. You know, no matter how much money you have to spend, they don't want to sell it. It's going off to a veneer factory or something like that, and they cut it up into little veneer.
That's true. I never thought of that.
Oh yes, yeah.
Well, that's another fortunate reason for you living in the Adirondack region, though. I mean, there's wood around
There's a
here.
lot of wood, and there's a lot of loggers, you know. So, yeah, I've got quite a supply.
You have these guys call you up every now and again and say,
Oh, yeah, I have a
hey
couple
Ken,
guys.
I got a piece here you really want.
I got a couple of guys that do the very same thing. They call me up and they'll tell me they have a few things, and I'll go down and bring them back, or they'll bring them and dump them off. It's a big enough chunk. And of course, like I said, I do with the sawmills. There's a sawmill out in Peru the guy constantly on the lookout for stuff. You know, he'll keep his eye out for everything.
Now, you say there are probably 4 or 5 loggers, 4 or 5 people who do bowl turning in this area. I wonder in the entire Adirondack region if there would be a lot more than that.
I don't know. I've only, like I say, you know, you meet the guys at the craft shows, and the only people there's about 4 or 5 that really do any that I know of.
Because Calvin and
I'm sure there's people.
Calvin and I have some friends who like to do exhibitions, presentations. We did one of wood carving fairly recently in an old bank in downtown Plattsburgh. We got a cultural organization that loves to get people together, and they had a lot of people who do wood carving, different kinds of wood carving, from canes to plaques to you name it. And I can picture an exhibition including all the area's wood turners.
Yeah.
It would be a nice
That would be
little
interesting.
spotlight. Because not only is this as a business, not only is this as a nice hobby, but this is a real cultural thing.
I mean,
Because like you said, people, I love to just touch and feel.
they last
feel-
forever.
feel
you know.
the wood.
They'll be here long after I'm gone.
I got
You
wooden
know,
bowls that are older than you
Oh,
and I
yes.
and Calvin,
Oh, yes.
if you added our age up together. So people have been
yes.
doing this for a while.
Yeah, they last forever. Like I said, once you get them, and if you take good care of them, it's pretty simple. Especially my finishes. I mean, I use, like I say, the walnut oil finish, so it's real easy upkeep, and you can wash them. The wife uses ours for potato salad, macaroni salad, anything, and it's just takes care of itself just about. You know, the oil seals everything up.
You ever have to refinish them? Are they?
No, I've actually had people bring in bowls. A few ladies that actually picked up a bowl somewhere. They had a bowl in the family, like you have your bowls, and can you do something with this? And I'll bring it back to it, and I'll take a turn at it anyway, give it a try, and it works pretty good there too. That works out pretty well.
So do you have any goals for the? We're into a new century and a new time in 2002. You've indicated a few things that you'd like to accomplish, like a little better shop and a stand out by the side of the road.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get into a little gift shop, Adirondack style, and feature a few of the other Adirondack stuff, candle making, and some of the stuff that people put out
That's
at the craft
interesting.
shows, just to have at the shop, and just keep making bowls.
I cannot. It's hard for me to believe that you can sell all the bowls you make, but you must have made a name for yourself already, Ken. Gadway.
It works pretty well. I think last year, actual sales, a couple hundred bowls, went last year. So that's pretty good, even with the down after September 11th. Of course, we had the September 11th thing, and everything kind of dropped off, but it'll come back. And there's so many people coming to the Adirondacks. You meet new people every day.
This is not a big city kid who decided to move to the Adirondack region to make a living, and this is it. You probably walked some of this ground up here when you were a kid.
Oh yes, we farmed this ground actually.
Did you really?
Yeah, we actually had a little farm, and grew potatoes where we're sitting right now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So it is. It's hallowed Gadway ground.
Oh, yeah. It's been in the family a while.
And you never traveled much. Always pretty much hung around here.
Pretty much stayed here. Yeah. Got into the orchard thing, and I like that. I mean, it's not the greatest job in the world, but it was a real cultural experience.
Once again, it's part of what this area is all about.
Oh yes. Yep.
Apples and
Adirondack
wood,
crafts.
and
Yeah.
logging, and we did a show at the Adirondack Museum in Blue Mountain Lake one time, and I'm not sure if they have any bowls there, but that might be an idea for them to get a display of bowls, because it is
Oh, yes.
It's been going on as an Adirondack craft.
For a long,
They
long
do
time.
they do the basket making and
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So I can, my mind's working a mile a minute here to put you on the map, Ken, because this is such a very special thing that you do. Now, is there anything else that you make that isn't represented here that you can think of?
There's a number of things that I make that I just don't have any of, or I haven't made them for a few months, and just about anything round I probably
Somebody
made.
calls up
just
and
about
says,
anything round.
Ken, can you make me a so-and-so?
I've
You'll give
made
it a shot.
From honey dippers to, like I say, porch bowls. It's just the
dippers,
run of the mill.
think of that, yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. It's a burl honey dipper. That's kind of a unique thing,
yeah.
black walnut honey dipper. Something you can't really get anywhere, but you can make it. I make that kind of stuff.
So you'll be around at quite a few different events.
Oh yeah, I set up and take down my tent about 75 times a summer.
Oh my God!
I do between the
Your
three.
wife
farmers
goes with you
markets.
every time?
No, she has her job, of course. She works too, so
Oh, okay.
she's on her own deal. And yeah,
She says you're on your own too.
I'm on
right?
my own on the weekends. And my daughter tends to go with me now and then. But from Friday to Sunday, Friday is E-Town and Sunday is Keene, and Saturday sometimes it's Plattsburgh Market or a craft show somewhere in the Adirondacks. So usually in the summertime there's a craft show somewhere on Saturday.
Well, those shows, that's a whole cultural event all by
Oh, yes.
itself. I can't imagine how many wonderful people you've met just doing that.
People from all over the country. I mean, especially some of the bigger shows. I ventured into Vermont this last year, and did a couple of the shows in Essex, the national show. That's kind of a national show, a big one. I mean, you get 20,000 people that go to the show, and boy, you meet
You
everybody.
better take a big van to take bowls. To
Yeah,
that
you
one.
you take quite a bit of stuff with that. Yeah, it's quite a show. The biggest one in the area.
So interesting. Now, how did they come to do this newspaper article on this Lake Champlain Weekly little newspaper?
There again, they saw me at a craft show. They actually saw me, the editor, I guess, of the newspaper, saw me at a craft show and thought it would be a neat idea to do an article, so they come up and interviewed me.
Well,
Something that isn't done a lot of, but,
it caught Calvin's eye, and that's what really counts in terms of our program, right, Calvin?
Right.
Do you have any questions you want to ask of Ken?
It's just you've mentioned things that you thought were obvious that certainly aren't obvious, and something I should have been smart enough to realize is that you don't slice a piece of that log and use it as it is. You cut it in half because of the way the grain is. It probably wouldn't hold up at all if you used it the way the tree grows.
Yeah, but who would think of that? I wouldn't think of
the
that.
main reason you don't cross-cut them is checking. You get into cracking situation because the log dries radially and from the center out. And that end grain, you can't hold them together. There's just not a good way to hold them together to get into the drying stage. That's why you do it what's called plank ways,
Yeah.
board ways.
Well, this is also a lesson for those people who may want to go into a large department store, and I certainly hold nothing against large department stores, and buy a set of commercially made salad bowls. Why would you do that
Yeah,
when you can get something like
chances are
this?
they're pieced together too. They're glued up wood. Any of the commercial bowls that you see, most of them are glued together pieces.
You've got to be
They
kidding.
don't have the time to go out and do the log thing, so they cut pieces of kiln dried stuff and glue them together and turn a bowl out of that.
See, that's something else I learned.
Yeah, these are one
Oh,
piece right from the log.
I mean, there's no way a machine can duplicate this right here. I mean, this is just absolutely amazing bowl right there. Oh, we've got pictures. Of course, we got pictures. What the heck is this?
That's the one of the bigger pieces up on the chain falls, getting ready.
I
to put
see
on
what
the
you
weight.
mean about chain fall. Holy mackerel!
It's strapped up pretty well. Yeah, it's a heavy piece of wood. That one probably went 250, 300.
Wow. And
It's
that
a
bowl is somewhere right now.
That bowl's drying right now. Yeah,
Oh, it's drying right
It's
now.
drying right now. Yeah.
That one will be for sale someday, right?
Toward the end of next year, probably, or the middle of next year.
Now we got a picture right here, and it
This-
says Kenneth Gadway, so that's got to be you.
Was the April edition of Woodwork magazine, and I just mailed them in a bunch of pictures. And normally, I mean, it takes years to get a picture in a magazine, but they happen to like what they see with the natural burl, and it was a big
Natural edge
bowl.
bowl.
It was a big bowl, about a 14.5-inch bowl. So they published the picture in the magazine.
And looking in the
Along with some of the
magazine.
other guys, there's a few other guys that are in there that some of the bigger name turners.
Well, that's interesting. I never, of course, not being into woodwork, I wasn't even familiar with this magazine. Has it been around for a while?
It's been around a long time. Yeah, it's actually out of California. It's been in circulation quite a number of years.
This is the April 2000 edition. You just took some pictures and wrote a little letter? Or?
Take some pictures, yeah. If you try to get discovered thing, you try to get some people to look at your stuff that are real collectors would. So you go through the magazines, and if they like your stuff, sometimes they'll publish it up, and it helps. It helps. It's like the article. It's like the newspaper article.
Yeah.
Advertisement is advertisement.
And hopefully, like this little show right here today. What do you got over here? You got some interesting stuff.
Got some more pictures. Oh, this is.
Oh my goodness! Come on, we
kinds
got to
of
look
stuff.
through this stuff. All right. What's this first thing?
That's just another natural edge burl, hollow turned, kind of a display for vase, type thing with dried flowers.
Oh, look at this with a smile on his
This
face.
was the day down in Clinton Community College. The first lady, she was first lady then. She wasn't senator. She was after the senator job, but she made a tour through the area, and that was an ice storm piece. And I thought it would be a kind of a neat idea I called up the Chamber of Commerce and asked them if they would like to donate a piece to her. They didn't want to get into offending other small businesses, so they said, "Well, you come down and do it.
You can do it, Kenneth.
You can do it." So, boy, it worked out pretty well. I got a lot of attention from it, And,
Next time I'm down in Chappaqua, I'm going to knock on the front door and offer my sympathies for the dog, and then I'm going inside to see if that's on the sideboard. If it's not, then I'm going to ask him why. Look at this stuff.
it's just some of the other stuff I do. Take a few pictures of
Mortar and pestle.
mortar and pestles.
You didn't tell me that.
Do a
Look
number
at
of mortar
this
and
beautiful
pestles. Yeah,
piece.
that's another one of those things that some lady had asked me if I do them. Because they're getting into so many dried spices and stuff nowadays. You grow your own. Pretty much a lot of people are growing their own spices, and garlic, of course. So I got into mortar and pestles. I do a number of those.
This is the vase. Is that two pieces?
That's about 2 pieces. That's 2 pieces. Yeah, that's a strange piece of ash bowl. Had a little fancy design.
A little fish on the side.
Little fish,
there, yeah.
like,
Oh, look at
and
this.
all kinds of stuff. All kinds of.
Now,
all
what would
kinds
this
of-
be?
Just another little vase. It's hollow on the inside.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. This one too. This is all hollow on the inside.
See
Just
what
a
I
big
mean
cherry
about
burl.
Nature's designs.
Yeah. The natural edge stuff. That's what you do. You just kind of leave it the way it is, and
Oh, of course.
and
you
it
do.
speaks for itself.
Oh,
People
God.
look at it, oohs and ahs, and
Hi. Well, we've seen them in person. Now we're going to see a few things that aren't in the shop right now. There we go with another mortar and pestle.
cherry burl. It's,
Oh boy!
has a really good look to it. That's just a burl turned down into a mortar and pestle
Just
out of
turn.
the same piece of wood.
That's great. Turn the pages and tell me what we got.
A little emu egg with
Look
a
at this.
little box inside it.
Oh,
Another odd piece of burl.
look at
burl.
this! Isn't this amazing?
This is kind of a record of the past stuff.
You
Catalpa goblet.
you
Here's a
don't
bottle
take
stopper.
pictures of everything, do you?
Not everything.
every
Some of
now
the
and-
odder stuff
Yeah.
that we do. Some of the real odd
Oh,
burl
my,
stuff.
my, my.
This was actually a lady's burl. She came to the farmer's market, found me. Had a son that had told her years ago that, why are you keeping this burl around? It was, the thing was 50 years old, I guess.
No kidding.
40 or 50 years old. And she said, someday I'm going to get something done with it. She happened to find me at the farmer's market, asked me about it, and that's actually one of the
Oh, and
pieces.
this is what you turned out?
These 2 pieces are what came out of that piece of wood.
Look
She
at
was,
the-
she was tickled to death. She was
Okay,
just,
now what do you see here, Calvin? I see a court jester here. You see a goat. Oh, that's his horn and his nose. Okay. Oh, the goat's got a nice mane, though.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing what your imagination can do?
Came out of
Pretty
that-
good set of
came out of
teeth
that
there,
thing.
too. Isn't that great? I love it.
And
All right, let's look at some more here.
It's at a craft show.
This
with
your
my
daughter?
That's my daughter.
How old is she now?
She's 12.
Oh,
12.
she likes to go around.
Oh
with
yeah,
that,
she
huh?
loves to do the craft shows. Of course, she likes to look around the craft shows
Oh,
too.
of
Of course, that type of
Doesn't
thing.
everybody look at these things?
Big pieces.
Absolutely.
Burl stuff.
Oh, boy.
There's the bowl that was in the magazine. That's it actually
Oh, it is?
being turned. Yeah.
Oh, my,
It's-
my. You can see what challenges
It's pretty much
there
it's the
are
same. I
here.
mean, this bowl was done, 99. So it's all the same. It all done the same. Pretty much all the bowls are done the same.
Oh, my. Wait a minute. Look at this.
It's another big cherry burl. This is actually a display down at a big woodworkers show in Saratoga.
Yep.
Big bowl. And this was the largest stuff at the show. I mean,
Really? That blew
down
you away?
there. There's a lot of turners, but there's a lot of turners doing little stuff.
big
You know, they
stuff,
don't do the size. It's a big serving set. You know, big butternut bowl for the salad and the servers.
Yeah, that's really nice.
3 pieces out of 1 burro.
Boy, look at this.
Another cherry.
Yeah.
Another big butternut. That's a bottle stopper, so you see how big the bowl is. It's pretty good size.
Wow.
More natural edge stuff. Another odd shape of burro.
You're talking about it so matter-of-factly, and I'm going, my God, I've never seen anything so beautiful in my life. These,
All these pieces are gone too, by the way.
they're all gone?
Yeah, they're all gone.
Well, thank God you took
They,
pictures of them. That bowl leaks.
That actually just went recently too. It was
Did it?
last fall. One of the guys that I met at the Channel 57 deal. Channel 57
yes.
puts on the art auction.
The auction, yes.
And I put a few pieces in that every year.
I know you do. I've
And
seen it.
that was headed there, but he ended up buying it before it got there, so had to
Never
go with
mind.
something else. But
Whatever works.
whatever works, yeah. More odd stuff.
Oh, my. Look at this.
A little box, yeah. We get into little jewelry boxes, and I also do a little flat work, a square. That's a cutting board for that the guy did the porch poles for.
Oh, really?
The big, deep cutting
That
board.
certainly is unique, isn't
That's
it?
a big one.
Yeah, that is huge.
More odd stuff. I do a lot with cherry burl, as you can see. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of cherry burl stuff.
Well,
It's just got such a good look.
This lends itself.
That's one of the big bowls, one of the big elms.
Oh, wait a minute. He's got.
Oh yes,
the
we put
stuff.
the headgear on
Oh, man.
when we go at the big ones and the anything that's spinning really quick. Yeah, we go to the headgear because you don't want to catch them. You don't want to.
Huh?
Looks like a turkey being cut up.
Does
Looks
it?
like a turkey.
It's amazing, huh? Peeling a huge apple. Look at this. Here's another unique style.
That's a pepper mill.
Pepper mill.
Pepper mill, yeah. A few more. That's some of the odd
What
stuff.
kind of wood is that?
That's a beech.
Is it?
Piece of beech, yeah. Some of the normal stuff I do, the lamps. That's
Yeah.
the lamps and the potpourri pots. More odd pieces of burl. Another big bowl.
There she is again.
That's the
You just
Hillary
couldn't
thing.
help
I
get a couple of
had to
pictures
get a
taken,
couple
didn't you,
pictures in. That's my buddy's work.
huh? Oh, we didn't mind looking at your buddy's work.
There's a good example of the farmer's market. That's what you see when you walk into my tent.
This one was taken where?
That was done at E-Town, Elizabethtown.
You bring the racks with you?
Yeah,
You
everything
have
goes-
to assemble them there, or do you?
They kind of fold up and pack away in a van. It's a
Oh, you
big,
got a big
it's a
van.
school bus type van,
Oh, that's well.
and
That's the
a
one.
lot
we
of room
saw.
in there, and everything goes in the tables and everything, and the Rubbermaid boxes. Everything goes in the Rubbermaid boxes
Imagine
and in the
it.
van.
You got a plan on how to do
You
that.
gotta, yeah, and it gets easier as you do it more, of course.
Does it?
Yeah, you get,
Okay,
but yeah, I carry a number of things with me.
that's beautiful. More? I'm like a little kid here. More?
Whoops.
Oops.
That's actually a display at the Lake Placid Center for the Arts. They have an art show now and then, and you can get into with some three-dimensional art. And,
Yeah. Beautiful.
yeah, big stuff.
Is that the same one?
That's
we
that
saw
same
before?
one, yeah.
Boy, that's amazing.
It's another shot of the craft table and letter openers and what it looks like when you walk in my display.
Oh, you see, you got one with scalloped edges
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Number of butternut bowls and cherry bowls there.
Yep.
Black walnut.
Wow.
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty great. Pretty terrific.
I have fun. I have a good time.
What now? Do you welcome queries for people want to call you and ask for something?
Yeah, I've actually got a couple of people scheduled to come in. One person out of Utica, I believe he's from. He saw me at a craft show and he expressed interest in coming up and checking out the shop and watching the process. He wants to get into a little turning. So yeah, I welcome him.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people will be trying to learn more about making things on lathes after watching this program, and I hope we've inspired some people who may be right on the verge of retiring or changing from one field to the next. I don't know how many people who worked in apple orchards have become wood turners,
It's a
but
great hobby. It's a really good hobby. I mean,
it certainly is interesting.
yeah.
And I can see that it's personally very satisfying for you.
Oh, it's like I said before. You never know what you're going to find in a piece of wood.
Yeah. And when you can turn a hobby into a living,
business, yeah.
that's not a bad idea.
No. Of course, there's a lot of help from the wife too. She helps out quite a bit. She's the secretary, bookkeeper, shipping department, receiving, all that. So that end of it too is a big end of it.
Has your daughter ever actually tried any?
Yeah,
of
she's actually my mini lathe is used for the small stuff, and she's actually done some of the toothpick holders and stuff like that. She's not crazy about it, but she's 12 years old. She's working at it.
But I'll bet you at some point in her life she'll be proud to say, "My dad made
She's
that."
got a
See
few
that
of her
there?
own
My
pieces
dad
too.
made
Yeah.
that.
She's got a few of her pieces that she's scoffed up in the past. That pieces of bowls that she had an eye for. So.
Is there any one piece that you've made after all this time that you're most proud of, or is it like the author who says it's whatever book I just finished is the best thing I ever did?
Pretty much, I think that's the way you got to
Really?
explain it. Yeah, there hasn't. I've had so many hundreds of bowls go through that there isn't one that really jumps out at me except butternut. I really do like butternut.
I can tell you like butternut.
I like butternut. Yeah,
I can
the
tell the way
butternut
it looks
bowls
and
are-
the way it works. And
Yeah, they have a good look. They're special. They've
Yeah.
just got a real uniqueness about them.
Absolutely terrific. And I would imagine that once you get set up, you'll be inviting people to come up
yes.
to Turner Road to take a look at your
Yeah.
shop.
I'm going to have a window between my gift shop and my
you are?
workshop so that you can actually see into the workshop. Yeah.
Like at the apple orchards where you can watch them making the cider in the
Yeah.
back. Huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, God, I love cider. But I also like what you've done for us here today. Ken Gadway, I'm sorry it took us so long to get up here, but I'm happy we came here today. This day in January in 2002, Calvin, I'm sure, feels exactly the way I do. I get a wonderful education every time I do any of these shows. You're a terrific guy. You're a very humble guy, but you do beautiful work. And all we can do is wish you the very best of everything in the future. And maybe when you got all that new stuff built, you can call Calvin or call me and say, hey, you want to do it again?
Yeah, that would be great. Jesus, it's been a pleasure having you up here.
We would really love it, Ken. Best of everything in the future for you.
Well, thank you.
And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.